In a blood-soaked battlefield, a group of fierce naked people clashed with a lone hero, a tall barbarian with long wild hair and two gleaming axes gripped tightly in his hands. These warriors, born and raised to embrace the brutal ways of combat, surged forward with unwavering determination. Each person met his end one by one, cut down as the hero carved a path through them, leaving nothing but bodies in his wake. This clan held their honor and death above all else, seeing their ultimate purpose fulfilled only on the battlefield. Every fallen warrior left behind a legacy of valor, their sacrifice celebrated by the remaining fighters who fought even harder. The hero's voice rang out raw and desperate as he called a name into the swirling chaos. Evelyn. His shout echoed over the roar of battle. I'll buy you as much time as I can. Prepare the spell. His words held a fierce resolve, and Evelyn's voice answered back, steady but strained. I understand, she replied, the urgency clear as she worked to channel the energy needed for a spell powerful enough to change the tide of the fight. Watching in awe and confusion was a small boy barely old enough to wield a blade, yet his heart pounded with pride and fear. The hero before him was his father, a warrior whose honor was unrivaled even in the clan known for its unbreakable code of loyalty and valor. To this young boy, his father was not only a hero but the epitome of what it meant to be a warrior. The boy marveled that even in this moment, surrounded by foes and betrayed by the very tribe they had trusted, his father continued to fight. But fate has something else. His father was attacked by the people. The blades were almost inside his stomach, but he kept fighting and eventually destroyed some of them. While Evelyn was preparing her magic, it had some green aura around it. With an immense light it sucked the young boy. Evelyn told him that wherever this star lands it will be much better than here. The boy's name was Aiden, and she told him to survive. Suddenly his father called him out and told him to become strong enough to lose nothing at all, and to become so strong that no one can dare to touch him, and to make sure he survives in the end. His father had a heroic final hero type of smile as he looked at Aiden. Aiden nodded solemnly, his gaze meeting his father's, a warrior who stood unflinching on the edge of death. In his father's eyes there was no trace of fear or regret, only the fierce pride that came from a life lived as a true barbarian. It was a gaze that spoke volumes, a message passed from father to son, filling Aiden with an understanding of honor and sacrifice that words could never capture. Fast forward to a bustling sunlit afternoon, a scene far removed from the brutal battlefields of Aiden's memories. The air was lively, filled with chatter and laughter, and on the street corner some groups of clowns were standing. One of them said that it must be because the college entrance exam was over, so they already catching big fish from the afternoon, as this geek must be from a rich family. They then told him to take his bag and watch already. He was a small cute geek with old granny glasses, but his watch looked expensive and shiny. He was Jintae, he was a third year at Yahello High School. The boy told them that they shouldn't do this as it could lead to big trouble. The guy who was standing in front of him told him that he is such a nerd that a trouble is standing in front of him and he is clowning about it. The boy, shifting nervously from foot to foot, glanced at the group of clowns and said, "It's just that my friend will be here soon." His voice was unsure, but there was a hint of anticipation behind it. One of the clowns, scoffing, leaned in with a smirk. "Oh really? What kind of badass is he, huh? Or is he some sort of monster?" As if on cue, a loud crash erupted from behind them. Bricks flew everywhere as the wall nearby broke open and one of the guys was thrown backward, taken completely by surprise. Dust settled around the gaping hole and through it stepped a towering figure, a guy with broad shoulders and thick chiseled muscles. He was charismatic, his presence alone exuding strength and confidence. The stunned group stared as he took in the scene with a stern expression. "Looks like you boys could use a lesson in manners," he said, voice deep and steady. His name was Cheoldu and he was in third year. The boys were stunned to see that, and they asked him about how he punched through the wall. Cheol then grabbed the guy and told him that he is Jint's friend, and then he punched him. Such a charismatic guy. Afterwards Cheol and Jint walked together. On their way, Jint told him that he is amazing as this time he punched through a brick wall. He then asked him if he is a human. Cheol chuckled nervously, raising his hands in a defensive gesture. Of course I'm human, he insisted, though his eyes darted away, betraying a hint of doubt. After all, it had been 10 long years since he'd arrived in this strange world they called Earth. Sometimes he wondered if he still showed the signs of the barbarian he had once been, a warrior from another life. Even his old friend Jint seemed suspicious lately, eyeing him carefully as if he could sense something was off. When they finally got back to the small apartment, some empty bowls stacked high on the table and scattered around the room as if a beggar had come through and devoured everything in sight. Cheol, who was still finishing off the last bites from his plate. Across the table an old man chuckled, shaking his head. "You're eating so little these days, Cheol," he remarked. Cheol shrugged, a bit embarrassed. "It's just that I haven't had much of an appetite lately," he admitted, glancing at the table piled with empty bowls. Then, looking over at his grandfather, he asked gently, "But Grandpa, why aren't you eating anything?" His grandfather chuckled softly, his eyes warm with affection. "I'm an old man now, Cheol. My digestion isn't what it used to be," he replied, patting his stomach with a small smile. "These days just watching you eat is enough to fill me up." The person he is most grateful to is his grandfather, as he picked up a barbaric boy who had nowhere to go and then raised him without asking for anything in return. The old man then told him that he got a call from Manager Park. Our boy stopped eating at that point. The old man then asked him if he told him that he is going to be a boxer. Cheol told him that he is going to be an athlete while finishing his meal. The old man then asked him that he had won every prize there is, as isn't it going to be a waste? Our boy realized that humans and barbarians are completely different species after all. As him participating in sports, it's no different from cheating, and that goes against the spirit of fair play. Afterwards our boy got sad and realized that he is sorry for his grandpa, but there is only one path for a barbarian. Cheol sighed, his gaze distant as he thought back to his former life. To be a warrior, he said to himself. It wasn't the same as the sports humans practiced here. No games, no friendly matches. It was blood and grit battles against worthy opponents where every fight was a matter of life and death. But that was the problem with Earth. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. As he sat outside lost in thought, he heard his grandfather saying inside, breaking the quiet. "It's messed up," the old man said, eyes fixed on the television. Curious, Cheol turned to see what had caught his grandfather's attention. The news anchor's voice was tense as she reported the government has announced that they are conducting a thorough investigation into the unidentified disaster in Cheongju. The old man told him that there'd been an accident in Cheongju with over 120 casualties already. As it's something about a monster appearing, he wondered that it's the end times. Meanwhile, in the news there was some additional footage of the monster being released, as the unidentified life forms have also been spotted in the air, so they advise people to be cautious. It was the picture of some deer with wings and his eyes glowing green. Our boy started shivering. He then told his grandpa that he needs to step out for a bit. Moreover, a car was heading somewhere inside. It was Cheol who said that. It's his first long drive since his dad got him the new car. As this was likely their final mission together, he advised Cheol to get a license as well, stressing its importance. Cheol paused, recalling the unusual monster featured in the news earlier that day. It was an animal he faintly remembered from his childhood, though he couldn't initially place where he'd seen it. Slowly the realization dawned on him: this creature might be connected to the strange otherworldly place he used to call home. Jintae turned to Cheol and saying that although they called it a disaster, the scene felt far more intense than he'd expected. Soldiers were stationed everywhere and the crowd's nervous energy was palpable. Meanwhile, a few strangers cast curious glances at Cheol, clearly noticing his impressive physique. Some whispered admiring his build. It seemed he'd caught the interest of a few who admired his look. As the murmurs continued, one of the onlookers approached him, asking which group he belonged to. They assessed his simple attire and concluded that he didn't seem affiliated with any organization. One of them then extended a golden card toward him and suggested, "If you're interested, you could join us." Cheol took a closer look at the card, wondering if this was some kind of gathering for warriors. The guy then grabbed our boy's shoulder and told him that they need to colonize planets so they are more like workers than warriors. However, Cheol tears the card apart and told them that he is more of a warrior, as being a worker would be disgraced to a warrior. The guys went completely berserk, their anger palpable as they confronted him. They shouted, demanding to know how he could dare to refuse the lucrative offer from Nuzong Development. Their voices were filled with disbelief and outrage, fueling the chaotic atmosphere around them. At that moment our boy felt a surge of irritation rise within him. He couldn't believe how they were insulting him, a warrior who had fought hard to earn his place. His frustration boiled over and he snapped back, challenging their audacity. Suddenly a vibrant purple aura enveloped him, crackling with energy, catching the attention of everyone nearby. The crowd fell silent, their eyes wide with wonder and fear. It was as if time had paused and the air thickened with anticipation. Then a notification window appeared in the air before him, glowing ominously and capturing everyone's attention. The words flickered across the screen announcing that the apocalypse trial was about to begin. Our boy stood there stunned and was processing the gravity of the situation. The message continued, declaring that the end of the world was approaching Earth. Panic and confusion swept through the crowd as they absorbed the chilling news. Yet the notification also revealed a glimmer of hope. The sanctuary planet Nova extended a helping hand to the inhabitants of Earth, offering them a chance to survive the impending doom. Afterwards, an immense amount of light formed on the ground. Our boy was stunned to see about what's happening here. After a while they wondered where they were. Meanwhile, Jintae started going crazy. He told Chio that he should take responsibility as they are here because of him. Suddenly they set a notification window in front of them. They wondered what it was, as it said that the objective is to obtain a goblin coin. Jintae wondered what end trial means, since it's been saying this since earlier. Afterwards, Chio told Jintae to look up as there were a bunch of goblins standing in their way. In an instant our boy ran towards the goblin horde, wondering how long he has waited for this moment. To finally be able to confirm how strong he is. In an instant he smashed bunch of goblins, realizing that his blood is boiling as he is getting insanely excited. As his inner instinct is telling him that this is his only chance. With a single powerful punch, Chio obliterated 2 goblins in one swift move, leaving nothing but dust in his wake. Jintae, standing nearby, watched in disbelief, still struggling to process the spectacle. His mind raced with questions, marveling at how his buddy had just taken down not 2 but 3 monsters in the blink of an eye with such effortless strength and precision. As one of the goblins vanished into thin air, Jintae noticed something peculiar. A glimmering golden coin materialized above the fallen creature, hovering in the air like a prize awaiting its new owner. The sight only deepened his awe and wonder. As Keel tried to pick it, a notification window popped up saying it's a goblin coin, a Nova's basic currency of end times exam exclusive currency. Chio wondered that these are the goblin coins mentioned in the status window earlier. Afterwards, the notification window notified him once again that his end times exam has been completed, and so that he have earned the right to become citizen of Nova, as to cross the portal to enter Nova. Chio and Jintae exchanged puzzled glances, both wondering what it could mean to cross to enter the portal. The phrase seemed cryptic, loaded with implications they couldn't quite grasp. Chio, after a moment's thought, pointed into the distance and said if they're talking about a portal, they must mean that purple swirling thing floating over there. He gestured toward a shimmering violet vortex hovering just above the ground, its eerie glow casting flickering shadows around them. After a while, Jintae was all bruised up, as if he recently went to sneak into some girl's house and got beaten. He was blaming Chio for all this. He then started shouting that he threw him into a place crawling with some goblins out of nowhere, as if he's trying to get him killed. However, our boy realized that it is said that the coins couldn't be transferred, so Jintae has to fight to earn them himself. However, Jintae wasn't having any of it. He shouted at him, saying that to throw someone out of nowhere and someone who can't even fight into this. Suddenly another goblin lunged towards them, but in an instant Chio kicked him and the goblin pushed away. Chio said that there is no faster way to grow fighting firsthand. Afterwards, Chio with a cute smile on his face told Jintae that he won't let him die as he got caught up in this because of Hai, so he will take responsibility and help him. Jintae, who looked as weary as an old man, gave Chio a weary smile and said it's such an honor to have made it this far together. At least we've completed the quest. What a relief. He sighed deeply, his hands resting on his knees, savoring the small victory. Meanwhile, hidden behind a thick line of bushes, a pair of watchful eyes tracked their every move through the crosshairs of a rifle scope. A soldier whispered to his sergeant, "I see their duffel bag over there, sir." The sergeant grunted, his tone dismissive. "Probably just a couple of goblins. Either way, let's get over there and take them out, leave nothing to chance." Meanwhile, Chio and Jintae were already having fun with the duffel bag. Chio told Jintae that there are a lot of useful stuff in the duffel bag as the goblins were carrying. As there is even combat rations, so they don't have to worry about going hungry at all. Suddenly there was a gun tip on the head of Chio. There were two soldiers standing there, but one of them got shocked seeing that they are just humans. After a while they were cooking something when the soldier told them that he was so caught up he thought they were a goblin. He then asked them that why are they just two of them and completely unarmed at that. Chio told him that they ended up without knowing what kind of place this was. Jintae turned to Chio with a thoughtful expression, his voice laced with curiosity. "Do you think this end times exam is real, and if the soldiers are part of it too, then maybe everything we see in the status window is actually true?" Chio nodded, slowly considering the implications. Just then the soldier hidden in the bushes spoke quietly to his comrade. "It's official, the government is prepping for the end times too. They're saying that Nova, the planet we're supposed to migrate to, is basically stuck in the Stone Age. We'll all have to work together to build up villages and make it livable. As companies and organizations are also jumping into Nova's development to prepare for the new era, a competition unknown to the general public has already begun behind the scenes." Chio then asked him if in Nova there are many monsters like the ones they saw earlier. The soldier further said that this place is the kind of testing ground while Nova is the main stage, and that's the reason it's crucial to train here, as Nova will be even more challenging. The soldiers then offered them another duffel bag with bunch of more things. Chio was already lost in his own thoughts. He wondered about how Nova is going to be even tougher than this place. So he have to do some more hunting. Later that night they went to hunting. Jint asked him why is he doing more hunting. Chio told him that he should remember what the soldier said, as they can't sit around and they need to level up faster. Nearby a crumbling stone tower loomed with a group of goblins patrolling its base. Among them stood one unusual goblin, noticeably different from the others. It had long white hair and leaned on a twisted, creepy staff adorned with charms and bones. Chio squinted, trying to make sense of the strange figure. "What kind of creature is that?" he muttered. Jint frowned, his eyes narrowing. "I don't think it's like the goblins we've faced before. It looks stronger, or at least different." Without hesitation, Chio marched forward, a frying pan gripped tightly in his hand. Before Jint could react, Chio lunged forward and with one powerful swing smashed the pan against the goblins, sending them flying. After that, Chio started climbing the tower. With the immense red aura around him, Chio told the tattooed goblin that he is coming for him. However, the tattooed goblin looked like he didn't give a single trash about it, and suddenly a lightning stroked the goblin. Chio realized that the goblin was a mage. Afterwards the lightning stroked Chio while Jint kept shouting for him. While being completely burned by it, Chio looked happy. He moreover enjoyed it. Afterwards another lightning stroked it, but Chio asked for more and more. He felt like electricity was running down his spine, but he could take it. He is not just a barbarian, he is also the son of a great shaman. Afterwards, Chio reached the top, having golden aura light around him. He told the goblin that the pain that doesn't kill someone makes them stronger. And just like that, he smashed the goblin and broke the entire tower. In the aftermath, Chio was laying on the ground. He wondered that he managed to hang in there thanks to the magic resistance he inherited from his mother. Suddenly the coins started floating over him. He realized they are not just coins but there is something else as well. Another notification window pops up saying a mana orb permanently grants a small amount of mana can be activated with 10 goblin coins exclusive to the Doomsday Trial, which is non-transferable. He wondered if he could gain mana like a shaman. Suddenly the mana went inside his chest and he started glowing with the golden light. He felt that this feels like such a power-up as it almost makes all of his previous efforts seem pointless. Suddenly Jintae the fat clown came running towards him saying to be fine after getting hit by lightning. He wondered if he is a human. At that moment Chio went dark and blank. He called out Jintae saying now they have to hunt even more. Jintae almost pissed his pants. Chio told he that they should find the next hunting ground quickly as they especially need to take down that shaman who drop orbs. The next morning Jintae woke up groggy and rubbed his eyes only to see Chio sitting nearby completely naked, a pile of shimmering mana orbs cradled in his hands. Jintae blinked stunned and muttered, "Did you hunt goblins all night without sleeping?" Chio flashed a wild grin on him, his eyes glinting with an intense energy. "Not just mana orbs," he said excitedly, "I managed to grab a few strength orbs too. I feel like I've gotten insanely strong overnight." He clenched his fists, feeling the new surge of power flow through his body, eager to test his abilities. Just then a soft chime echoed in the air and a notification window appeared before them, its message stark and to the point. 12 hours have passed in the Doomsday Trial. The notification's words hung heavy in the air. Bosses are formidable enemies that novice players cannot face. Escaping as quickly as possible is recommended. Jintae's eyes widened in horror as he processed the warning. Bosses? Showing up this early? That's insane, he muttered, a hint of panic creeping into his voice. He quickly turned to Chio. "We should get out of here now, the portal's still open, we can escape." But Chio's expression had shifted, his face darkening with a twisted excitement. A chilling grin spread across his face as he clenched his fists, the power from the mana and strength orbs surging within him. "Escape?" he said, his voice laced with exhilaration. "Why would I run? This is exactly what I've been waiting for." Jintae's stomach churned as he looked at his friend, who now seemed almost unrecognizable, the thrill of the battle overtaking any fear. In the beginner's testing ground, chaos erupted as the field boss, a hulking towering ogre, laid waste to everything in its path. Soldiers fought valiantly, guns blazing, but the bullets only seemed to bounce off the ogre's thick leathery skin. It roared, swinging its massive club, sending soldiers scattering. Just as the monster raised its weapon to crush the nearest squad, Chio leapt into action, completely unfazed by his lack of armor or clothing. "Time for the real fight," he shouted, a fierce grin on his face. Jintae could hardly believe his eyes. Here was Chio charging at an enemy twice his size, completely naked yet absolutely fearless. The ogre turned, noticing him, and Chio's excitement only grew. He clenched his fists, ready to go head to head with the enormous creature. Chio clenched his fist and swung with all his might, landing a solid punch on the towering goblin. He expected to feel some give in the creature's skin or a grunt of pain, but it was like punching a wall of solid steel. The goblin didn't flinch, not even an inch. Instead, it glared down at him with a smirk, as if amused by his effort. Before Chio could react, the goblin's massive fist came crashing toward him. The blow was swift and ruthless, slamming into him with devastating force. Pain exploded through Chio's body as he staggered backward, barely able to keep his footing. Meanwhile, Jintae, who was standing with the soldiers beside, said that it can't be possible that its iron head is being overpowered. The soldier said that that's impressive in itself, as the field bosses aren't meant to be an easy prey, as they need to be at least on par with Tan to stand a chance against it. Chio lay sprawled on the ground, his body aching from the impact. He couldn't believe the sheer force behind that single punch. How could one creature be so strong? As he struggled to regain focus, he understood the grim reality. This goblin was undoubtedly stronger than him, maybe even leagues beyond what he could handle alone. Just then the goblin's massive fist came swinging down again, aiming to finish him off. But this time Cheo's instincts kicked in and he rolled to the side just in time. The goblin's punch slammed into the ground with a force that sent tremors through the earth, scattering dirt and rocks around them. Cheo understood that he had to avoid a head-on clash with the goblin at all costs. The creature's brute strength was overwhelming and he knew that a direct confrontation would likely end badly for him. The goblin was not only powerful but also quick to strike, making it a formidable opponent. As he observed the beast's broad muscular frame, Cheo felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. Just as he anticipated, the goblin began launching its heavy punches once more, each swing powerful enough to crush stone. Cheo's instincts kicked in. He knew he had to remain agile and aware. He focused intently, his eyes locked on the goblin, watching for any sign of movement. He analyzed the goblin's posture, noting the shifts in its weight and the tensing of its muscles. This time he was ready. With a combination of quick reflexes and keen observation, he managed to dodge each of the goblin's wild swings. He realized that the goblin's attacks were straightforward and predictable, making them easier to read. As he sidestepped another powerful punch, an idea sparked in his mind. Seizing the opportunity, Cheo reached out and grabbed the goblin's massive arm as it swung by. Using the creature's own momentum against it, he pivoted his body and threw the goblin down onto the ground with all his strength. As the goblin hit the ground, Cheo seized the moment and leaped into the air, aiming to deliver a powerful punch directly to its head. His fist connected with a sickening thud, the force of the blow reverberating through his arm. He didn't stop there. Fueled by adrenaline and determination, he unleashed a flurry of punches, hammering down on the goblin like a crazed maniac. The soldiers watching from a distance were utterly stunned. They could hardly believe their eyes as they witnessed this seemingly impossible scene unfold. Here was a lone fighter taking on an ogre barehanded and holding his ground against such a formidable foe. Cheo couldn't hold his happiness back. He started cheering on how he was able to take down someone stronger and bigger than him. The goblin was on the ground looking like a beauty girl. The goblin was then turning into a black orb. Cheo wondered what ability it will give him this time. He was shocked to see something. Afterwards, the people were thanking Cheo for saving them, as they owe him their life. They further told him that before going to Nova they should buy as many items as possible from the shop. Cheo was shocked to see a shop, as they can't take anything to Nova that they didn't buy from the shop. There was an old swaggy goblin sitting beside the shop. He told them to take a look and see what they want. Cheo was amazed as he saw a talking goblin for the first time. However, Jint was making up some evil plans as how they got so many of coins. He wondered what they should do with it. Cheo, filled with enthusiasm, turned to Jint and declared, "Let's buy everything this goblin has in the store." The sheer audacity of the idea thrilled him, and without a second thought they rushed to gather every item in sight. The old goblin watched with a mix of surprise and amusement as the two young men scoured the shelves, tossing potions, weapons and various trinkets into their growing pile. In no time at all, Cheo and Jint had emptied the shop, leaving behind nothing but bare wooden shelves. The goblin chuckled, rubbing his hands together as he counted their coins. "You two are something else," he exclaimed, clearly entertained by their reckless spending spree. Once their purchases were complete, a notification window suddenly popped up in front of them, shimmering with vibrant text. "All conditions for heading to Nova have been met," it announced. Cheo's heart raced as he read the message, realizing the significance of their actions. They had not only stocked up on invaluable resources but had also completed a crucial requirement for their journey. Afterwards they were standing to enter another planet. While Jint was nervous, our boy was so excited that he almost ripped his pants apart. As they were heading, Jint told Cheo to look over there, as there were two moons. As it felt similar to Earth, yet something was different. After what felt like an eternity of anticipation, Cheo and Jint finally reached planet Nova. They stood at the edge of a breathtaking cliff, gazing out at a sprawling expanse below. Bright lights twinkled in the distance, illuminating the landscape like a sea of stars, and Cheo couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Jint, equally mesmerized, pointed down toward the vibrant glow. "Those lights must be where everyone is gathered," he said, a note of eagerness in his voice. But as the awe of their new surroundings began to settle, Chio's stomach growled. "Breaking the moment." "We've got a problem," Chio admitted, looking sheepish. "I'm starving." The realization hit Jint like a cold splash of water. His eyes widened as he recalled what happened when he went too long without food. "This is bad," he said. "Know what happens when he gets hungry? He turns into a beast." Jint also realized that it will take at least half a day to walk to the tent village. Suddenly a gorgeous beauty found them. She asked them if they need any help. Jint died on her beauty. He asked her if she know any place where they might find some food. She tried to seduce them with her lip-touching move. She told them that they don't seem empty-handed. Afterwards she told them to follow her, as in these end times they got to help each other. Our boys went crazy over her. After that they started following her. Upon reaching the place, her melons were almost blasting the shirt buttons. She told them that she stumbled upon this fishing spot by chance. Afterwards Jint started unpacking. He said that they can make fishing rods with the stuff they bought at the store. The girl then told them to go ahead and make the fishing rods, as she will go grab the bait she left over there. While making the fishing rod, Jint told Chio that he was worried, but he is glad they found such a goddess. Our boy was going crazy over how he was hungry. Once they finished making the fishing rods, Chio's excitement got the better of him. He couldn't wait any longer. He leaped right into the pool with a splash, ready to catch some fish and make the most of their adventure. The water felt refreshing against his skin, and he immediately began casting his line, his focus solely on the task at hand. Meanwhile Jint was still standing at the edge, feeling a strange presence behind him. Something about the air shifted, sending a chill down his spine. Curiosity getting the better of him, he turned to look over his shoulder and froze. Standing there was the same girl from earlier, flanked by a group of imposing figures. They were all muscular and menacing, their laughter echoing through the air like a chorus of mockery. "Look at this loser falling for her trick." The girl stepped forward, a smug grin on her face as she addressed Jint. "Welcome to Nova. If your friend keeps going around fishing with what little he has, he'll get robbed by guys like them," she warned, gesturing dismissively toward the group of burly men behind her. Her tone was mocking, as if she relished the thought of Chio falling victim to their schemes. Jint's irritation flared. "We were tricked by you," he shot back, his fists clenching at his sides. He couldn't believe how brazen she was, flaunting her deception so openly. She shrugged nonchalantly, her eyes glimmering with a mix of mischief and confidence. "It's just the law of nature," she replied, a hint of amusement in her voice. "The weak get eaten and the strong survive. You two should have known better than to think you could fish here without consequences." Jint told them that if they mess with him they will seriously regret it. The long-haired dude punched Jint in the face, telling him how he is acting so tough. The guy then asked his friends about how there was a big guy with them too. They all started making fun about he must have been scared and ran away. Or he must have been hiding in the water 'cause he is too scared. Suddenly a powerful splash erupted from the water, startling everyone. Chio emerged, grappling with two crocodiles that had lunged at him from beneath the surface. The surprise attack was intense, but Chio quickly realized that he was handling the situation with an unexpected ease. As he fought off the reptiles, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him, and he remembered the ability he had inherited from the black ogre they had encountered earlier. It was a remarkable gift, one that allowed him to withstand the powerful jaws of the crocodiles without suffering any injuries. He felt invincible, his body moving fluidly as he dodged their bites and retaliated with swift punches. "This is amazing," Chio thought, exhilarated by his newfound strength. The ability to not get a scratch after being bitten by an alligator felt like hitting the jackpot. Once Chio finally subdued the two crocodiles, he dragged their lifeless bodies onto the shore, panting but exhilarated. He glanced over at the group watching him, his confidence surging. "So who are you guys? He called out, his tone steady and challenging. He felt prepared for whatever they might throw at him next. After all, he had just taken down two formidable foes. Meanwhile, Jintae stood off to the side, his emotions spilling over. Tears welled in his eyes as he pointed an accusatory finger at the girl. "They tricked me completely," he wailed, sounding more like a child than a young man in a world of danger. His frustration and embarrassment bubbled to the surface, and he felt utterly foolish for having fallen into her trap. Chio, catching sight of his friend's distress, rolled his eyes but couldn't help but smile. "Jintae, focus. You need to eat crocodile meat quickly." Afterwards, Jintae started crying again, saying he even got slapped and much more. One of the members asked Chio that he looks like a fighter, so what is he going to do now? Suddenly, with a single punch, Chio destroyed the guy's face. With a scary look on his face, he told the others to get ready, as he don't solve problems, he just eliminate them. Afterwards, the crocodiles appeared to be cooking something up behind our boy, who stood firm and unshaken like a towering rock amidst a storm. He spoke with a steady voice, revealing that these individuals had been extorting money from newcomers like themselves, preying on their inexperience and vulnerability.